104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports, and thanks to our friends at Mohawk Army Navy. Field Yates joining us right now. Field, the big news here in New York is Pat Shurmur coming on board. His announcement tomorrow, official announcement for the Giants. He's starting to put his coaching staff together as well. What are your thoughts on what the Giants are doing with their coaching staff?
Yeah, let's start here with Pat Shurmur, right? Because I think there is a stench that follows any head coach that had previously been fired from his former gig, right? And Pat Shurmur's 2-year tenure with the Browns was largely forgettable, but let's face it, guys. Basically, any coach who previously coached the Browns has had a forgettable tenure, right? I mean, it's just the way it has worked with that organization. So I think when you look at Pat Shurmur and what he brings to the table with the Giants, obviously an offensive mind, and not that he is going to necessarily be simply an offensive coordinator for the Giants. He'll be the head coach and the sort of CEO, but I think he's a bright offensive mind, incredibly diligent, a hard worker, a guy who's kind of got that grinder tab on his plate, which I mean that in a good way.
The defensive coordinator, but ends up not being Del Rio. Should Giants fans still feel optimistic about the D.C. hire?
Yeah, I think so. So James Bettcher, the former Arizona Cardinals defensive coordinator, gets that job. And listen, I think you look at the job he did last year, and again, sort of like piecing together strengths with strengths. The Arizona Cardinals were magnificent in the secondary over the past few years. And obviously it helps when you've got Patrick Peterson and Tyrann Mathieu and guys like that to lead the way. But I thought that James Bettcher was particularly resourceful with that defense. The defense was not the reason why Arizona fell to 8-8 this year. And, you know, that team actually probably exceeded expectations given they had David Johnson for about 5 seconds this past season, Carson Palmer for only about half the year, and a banged-up offensive line. So if I'm a Giants fan, I'm excited about what you have in James Bettcher as your new defensive coordinator.
Field Yates with us right now talking a little Giants football. Of course, the big news coming out late last night is that Rob Gronkowski did, in fact, get a concussion during the AFC Championship game. Will this keep him out of the game, do you think? I mean, what do we know? What do we think?
Well, here's what we know is that the Patriots did not practice on Wednesday, but they had to send out a projected injury report. And if they had practiced, they would have listed Gronk as a non-participant. Well, on Thursday, when they actually did practice, Gronk was a non-participant. So Gronk is in the concussion protocol. Stefania Bell, who I work with on Fantasy Focus Football Podcast, perpetually reminds us that concussion recoveries are nonlinear. It's not like, hey, A, there's a defined period of time, or B, all right, you take 2 steps forward, that means the next step is going to be forward as well. So I say that as just noting that, like, it's hard to forecast specifically when Gronk will return, but there does seem to be some optimism that Gronk will be on the field next Sunday when the Patriots play the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mohawk Army Navy bringing us Field Yates on 104.5 The Team. Field, let's play devil's advocate. Let's say, Gronk will end up being fine, but he can't play in this game. Is that finally the injury? No Edelman, no Gronk. Amendola has a great game, but still, can he do it again? Is that finally the injury that makes them lose a Super Bowl to someone not named the Giants?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it certainly tilts things more in Philadelphia's favor, but, I mean, they're dealing without Carson Wentz, So, like, they've shown teams have a certain mettle and resolve to them that helps them get to the Super Bowl in the first place. And I don't want to say that the Patriots are better without Gronk, but they are supremely resourceful. And, last week in the AFC Championship game, their offense scored 14 points in the fourth quarter against maybe, if not definitely, the best defense in football, and that came without Gronk. I'm not saying that they want to play without Gronk. I'm just telling people that, sleeping on either team going into this game, such a silly and sort of lazy thing to do. If the Patriots don't have Gronk, obviously they'll be disappointed, but no, there's not like that automatically spells victory for the Eagles, or if the Eagles didn't have one of their key players, it would not automatically spell victory for the Patriots.
You bring up the Philadelphia Eagles, their quarterback, Nick Foles, his future in Philadelphia is going to be interesting because if he wins the Super Bowl, how many other teams will be interested in him going forward? What's your feel on Nick Foles in 2018 and beyond?
Yeah, I would say this is Nick Foles probably isn't going anywhere. And here's why. I mean, isn't the value of Nick Foles highlighted for the Eagles right now? I mean, it would be one thing if we got a glimpse of Nick Foles because of factors not related to Carson Wentz's injury. Like, the team had clinched the first seed with 3 games to go, and they wanted, Nick Foles to play to protect Carson Wentz or something like that. But, you got to have Nick Foles as your backup going into next year because although I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be unavailable for week 1 of the 2018 season, his torn ACL was a late-year tear. So it's not like this was, week 2 or something like that where you feel pretty confident the guy will 100% be back without any questions. You have to have some security, some insurance. And Nick Foles has proven over the past month and a half that he's not just a decent insurance policy, he's an outstanding one.
Phil, can you recall a year as crazy with quarterback free agency? I mean, there's potentially 3 starters coming out of Minnesota, maybe 2 coming out of Philadelphia. Alex Smith, we don't know what he's doing. Kirk Cousins, you don't know where he's going. And then you got 3 or 4, prize quarterbacks in the draft. Can you ever remember a year like this?
It's been a while, and I'm cautiously optimistic that it actually stays this way, right? Because think about the guys that could, and I say could, not will, but could become free agents. Drew Brees, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins, Josh McCown's going to be a free agent. Alex Smith could be traded. The 3 Vikings quarterbacks, as you alluded to. Do the Eagles consider trading Nick Foles, even though I don't think it's really worth your while? If the Browns acquire a quarterback, they think about trading Deshaun Kaiser. Not that he's, a surefire starter, but, some team might look at him as a developmental backup. There are a lot of names on the quarterback list that could become available. Now, will they all become available? No. As we know, teams will find a way to either retain their guy or they'll franchise tag him or whatever it may be. But it is sort of a compelling list, and I didn't even name all the names that could be available. I'm not saying he played amazing, but what about Jay Cutler? What if he wants to keep playing? Don't you think somebody would consider potentially bringing him into the fold? I mean, based off what we saw, it wasn't great, but it was better than some other quarterback situations around the NFL because we saw some desperate times at quarterback this season.
Phil Yates brought to you by Mohawk Army Navy. So, Phil, we've been having this conversation, kind of tongue-in-cheek for the last week or so. The police in Philadelphia have to grease poles. There's been 2 human-on-police horse crime fights happening in Philadelphia. Are Eagles fans the worst fans in the NFL?
I don't know. I think no. And I don't have an answer as to who the worst fans are in the NFL. But I happen to love the passion of Bleeding Green Nation. I believe it's one of the nicknames. I believe there's a website called BGN, which I love for Eagles fans. And, I think that's one thing that's really important to remember. And I'm not trying to be sort of like the obvious guy here, but when we see videos of fans doing things that aren't representative of their city in a positive way, it's important to remember that a couple of knuckleheads often smear the reputation of a lot of really good people. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Not that Eagles fans at their core, if you see 1 or 2 videos of people doing something dumb, that's not like all Eagles fans. Most Eagles fans are just like a lot of the population. Excellent, outstanding people. You see videos of any fan base. Name a team, and you're going to find some, unbecoming videos of fans of that team. Just the way the world works, I suppose.
Field, what's we'll get a chance to hopefully catch up between now and then, but what's your early leaning in the Super Bowl? Who do you think might take it down?
I think the Patriots win this Super Bowl, and I don't think it'll be easy. I think that no matter who wins, it's going to be a close game. My predictions so far include this. I think the Patriots win, and I think they actually find a way to score a point in the first quarter, which has been something they have never done in the 7 previous appearances with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick as their quarterback and head coach. Incredibly. I think it's going to be a tight one, something like 26-21 Patriots.
I love it. Field Yates brought to you by Mohawk Army Navy. Thank you so much for your time. We're sad that you're not going to be out there on Radio Row with us. We were looking forward to catching up, but I'm sure we'll catch up on the phone or in some other way in the very near future. Listen,
I need you guys to go to the Canada Goose store before you leave and buy yourselves the heaviest jacket available. I hear it's going to be chilly out there.
Luckily, we're in upstate New York, so I think it's going to be like a 3-degree difference. We should be prepared.
All right, fair enough. You guys got that thick skin already.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Phil. We appreciate you.
No problem, guys.